Cleaning up greasy dolls doesn't require much. Start off with Goo Gone gel and a disposable cup. This doll really isn't as bad as the others I've cleaned up, but when I started filming, this was the worst example of glue head I had. Glue head is a problem with a lot of 2010 era dolls because there's a type of glue inside the head holding their hair plugs in, and at barely warm temperatures, it just seeps out and coats the hair. You can see how her hair is kind of clumpy. It starts at the roots, and if left unchecked, will just coat the entire hair strand over time. I don't like to sell dolls with bad glue hair and risk negative feedback, so I clean them up. Start by flipping the hair over into the cup and coating the hair with Goo Gone. Really saturate the hair. I did not remove her clothing because it's actually still attached with the original clear elastic bands and I didn't want to remove them, but I'd remove clothing if you can. Some people advocate using baby powder to make the gunk feel less gunky, but I don't like adding anything to the hair, I'd rather subtract. Since glue is an adhesive, you'd logically use an adhesive remover to try and get it out. Stronger adhesive removers may be too harsh for your skin or risk dissolving the plastic head or the hair itself, so Goo Gone is a good mild choice. Really make sure the Goo Gone is worked in well, massage it in with your fingers if you can. Just really make sure every hair strand has been coated and nothing has been left dry. Then leave the doll in the cup for the Goo Gone to work its magic. I do this step at night so it sits overnight, but forgetting about it for a little bit is really not an issue. Next step is to rinse it out after it has sat for 8 hours or so. I've tried letting it sit less time, but overnight has always worked best. Goo Gone is very greasy, so it's going to take multiple passes with a grease remover to get it back out of the hair. Dawn or any dish soap will do the job of removing grease. You want to make sure that you're using plenty of soap and lathering the hair up really good. Make sure the water is lukewarm and not hot because we don't want to melt extra glue inside the head. This step may take multiple times of rinsing and soaping up. It can be hard to tell when the hair is still wet, but you definitely want to make sure that all of the Goo Gone is rinsed out. I will also do a final soak with a cup of soapy suds to try and soak out any remaining grease. I'll use the doll's arms to brace so just the hair is soaking in the water and then you can forget about it for a few hours. Then give it one final good rinse before drying. If the hair is still very tacky at this stage, you may want to go back and repeat the Goo Gone step from the top, especially if the doll was very gunky. But since I just need to improve it enough for resale and this doll wasn't too bad to begin with, one round was enough. You can brush the hair straight and set her up to air dry, but I like to expedite things by blow drying. Again, on cool, not hot. Heat is the enemy here. Stop to brush out the tangles, dry some more. Stop to brush out more tangles, keep drying, and eventually the hair will be completely dry and you're done. Now the doll's hair will still feel a little build-up-y, but it will look 10 times better. And because this is a resale cleanup and not a restoration, that is a fine result. Before, her hair was very chunky and gunky on the underside close to the scalp. After, look how much cleaner it is. The hair looks softer, has more movement, and it's less chunky and piecey. I found this doll close to the end of editing, and he's a great example of how bad glue hair can be. I did the exact same process and look at that improvement, it's so much cleaner. It barely looks like the same hair. So what about tangled hair? Well, brush it out of course, but there's some things to consider. Like this doll that originally had curly hair but is now more like a rat's nest. Brushing it out is going to remove the curls and frizz it up big time. But leaving it as is also not something I want to do. For curly dolls, you need to evaluate whether or not it looks good enough as is to leave alone, or if you want to undertake brushing it out. I felt she was pretty bad, and that the result I would get from brushing would be preferable to this. Brushing is pretty straightforward. I use a dog grooming comb because that's what I have laying around, and if it's good enough for a dog, it's good enough for a doll. You start with the tips of the hair with a light picking motion, not pulling too hard. You're going to notice dolls shed, but some will shed a lot. Like this doll here, for example. My poor light box, I'm going to be cleaning out hair for days. Continue working your way up the hair strand until you can brush from the top down with no resistance. You don't want to do too much pulling, so if you encounter a tangle, just slow down and work it out. And before you know it, you'll be done. Before, her hair still had curls, but they were heavily tangled, and I decided brushing them out was preferable. After, her hair is straight and a little frizzy, but I feel it's a big improvement. Here's another very common example. The doll has some wave, but nothing that's going to be a big loss from brushing it out. So I repeat the process on her hair, and it's a nice improvement. This little terror decided he hated this doll inexplicably and messed her up good. She was clearly straight-haired originally, but now her hair is extremely damaged. Dolls with extreme damage can be brushed straight again, but their hair usually remains very puffed up and frizzy. So I brushed her hair out, and she looks a lot better than she did, but there's one more step you can add to straight-hair dolls or dolls that you want to have straight hair, and that's a boil dip. The hair is made of plastic, and the goal is to get it straight. And if you want to bend plastic, you need heat. You work around hot or boiling water at your own risk. I just fill a glass measuring cup and microwave for 2 minutes. The water isn't boiling, but it's pretty steamy and hotter than tap. I already dunked one doll, which is why the water is a little scummy. You dunk the doll's hair in for a little bit to set it straight and then brush it out, which is why I like using water that's hot but not boiling, because then I can still handle it. Once the hair is brushed out and set straight, you can leave the doll to air dry. Before, she was a frizzy, damaged mess that my cat messed up. After, her hair is straight, not so puffy, and looks so much better. For now, anyway. Last bit is about clothes. Since I mentioned selling clothes in the last video, I figured I'd touch on what to do if there's staining. I like to use Kids and Pet Stain Remover because it's pretty natural and harmless. Just spray a little on the stain, rub a little bit, then blot it up. Kids and Pets works best on organic stains like chocolate or dirt, not so good on ink or marker. For those, you'll have to try rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer, but then you're going to have to rinse the garment very well when you're done. And now that your doll and clothes are clean, you're ready for photos and listings, so check out my other video where I cover on that topic.